I still am tantalized by the sin here. Can't I stay just close to sin without actually being in sin? He's like so many Christians today. They claim they want a new life in Jesus Christ, but there's some private sin in their life, some habit, some addiction, some relationship. Lord, surely you don't mind this little thing in my heart that I hang on to myself. It gives me such happiness. And Lord, you want me to be happy, don't you? No. No, that's the sign of a fleshly, a carnal believer. And so, even though he hesitated, verse 16 says, the angels seized his hand and the hand of his wife and the hands of his daughters, for the compassion of the Lord was upon him, and they brought him out and put him outside of the city. Look now at verse 24. Then the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. This is the first mention of fire in the Bible. And it's related to God's judgment, fire and brimstone. And he overthrew those cities and all the valleys and all the inhabitants of the cities, what grew on the ground. You know, a lot of people speculate how this city, all 5 of them were destroyed. Some people speculate there may have been a volcanic eruption, or perhaps an earthquake that released certain hydrocarbons into the air, and lightning came at the right time and caused a combustion and an explosion, and fire and brimstone rained down. There's some archaeological evidence from that area that actually happened. But Moses really doesn't tell us the how of it happening, but he tells us who. This was not nature, Mother Nature. This was God himself pouring down his promised judgment. Look at verse 27. Now Abraham rose early in the morning and went to the place where he had stood before the Lord. And he looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the valley, and he saw, and behold, the smoke of the land ascended like the smoke of a furnace. He could see the smoke still rising to the air. When I read that passage, I think about what happened in our country on 9/11. Remembering how just an hour's time, those planes struck the World Trade Center, the tallest buildings in the world, and reduced them to rubble in an hour's time. It was a sudden destruction of that city, New York City. Weeks after that, just a matter of weeks after that happened, our family was on a plane landing at LaGuardia Airport in New York. It was at nighttime, and we could look out the window and see giant searchlights where the World Trade Center had been, and that huge hole in the ground, and we could still see the smoke and debris, the dust rising into the air. That's what the end times are going to be like, by the way. Revelation 18, we read about the destruction of the great center of commerce in the world, the city that will be known as Babylon. And in an hour, that city is completely destroyed, and the people of the world lament, fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. What does this story of God's destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah have to say to us today? I think this passage is always relevant, but it's especially relevant for us in our country right now. Let me close today with 3 timeless principles from this story. First one is about sin's influence. Write this down. Bad company corrupts good morals. Bad company corrupts good morals. Make no mistake about it, Lot was a believer. The Bible refers to him consistently as that righteous man Lot. He was a believer, but he was an immature believer. He was a fleshly believer. And because he was immature as a believer, he was easily influenced by others. And you see, pulled into sin over a period of time. In Genesis 13, we see him living on the outskirts of the city of Sodom. When we get to verse 14, he's now living in the city of Sodom. And by the time we get to chapter 19, we find him as a judge in the city of Sodom. He gets more and more involved in Sodom. You know, Psalm 1 says, "Blessed, happy are those who do not walk in the counsel of the ungodly, who do not stand in the path of sinners, who do not sit in the seat of the scoffer." And yet Lot did all 3. And he became more like the Sodomites instead of the Sodomites becoming more like righteous Lot. You know, Chuck Swindoll has a great illustration of this. He says, imagine it's raining cats and dogs outside, and you decide still to go work in your flower bed, and you put on white gloves to work in the mud, what happens to those white gloves? Real simple. They become muddy. Every time they will become muddy, but never in 1,000 years will the mud become glovey. No, the mud impacts the glove doesn't impact the mud. It's the same with people today, and ungodly people. You hang around an immoral person long enough, and guess what? You begin to think and act immorally. Hang around an angry person, Proverbs says you'll become more angry. Hang around somebody who scoffs and mocks at the things of God, and you'll become a mocker and a scoffer. 1 Corinthians 15:33, bad company corrupts good morals. And that leads to a second truth about a Christian's responsibility. God does want us to impact our culture, and this principle is this: believers are to act as preservatives in a corrupt world. One reason God left us here on earth is to push back against evil. Not that we're going to ultimately win. This world is ultimately going to implode. God's going to judge it. The Lord's going to return. But we are to be a preserving influence to push back against evil so that people have longer to hear the gospel. 2 Thessalonians 2 says there is a restrainer of evil in the world today. Who is that restrainer? He's the Holy Spirit of God. And where is the Holy Spirit of God? He's in the lives of believers. The Holy Spirit through your life and my life acts as a preservative in a corrupt world, to give the world longer to hear the gospel. And that's why it's so important that Christians take public stands against sin. We take public stands against abortion, against injustice, against immorality of every kind. Not that we're going to save the world by doing that, but hopefully we can give the world a little longer to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ and be transformed inwardly. The third truth here, and this is so important, has to do with God's patience. God eventually says, enough. God's patience eventually runs out. You know, there's a fascinating verse to me in Ecclesiastes 8:11. Solomon said, because the sentence against an evil deed is not executed immediately, the sons of men are fully to give that which is evil. In other words, what Solomon is saying is because people don't get struck down immediately when they sin, people make the mistake of confusing God's tolerance with God's mercy. God is long-suffering, but there's a time when God says enough. Don't make the mistake of confusing God's mercy, God's patience, with God's tolerance for sin. Just because consequences don't come immediately doesn't mean they won't come ultimately. We need to hear this as a nation, first of all. You know, when God was talking to Israel, he used the example of Sodom for them to consider. Listen to Ezekiel 16:49-50. Behold, this was the guilt of your sister Sodom. She and her daughters had arrogance, abundant food, careless ease, but she did not help the poor and needy. That's interesting, isn't it? She didn't help the poor and the needy. Thus they were haughty and committed abominations before me. Therefore I removed them when I saw it. Isn't that a great description of America today? Arrogant, prideful. We've got the greatest military in the world. We've got the greatest economy in the world. We can do whatever we want to. America's number one. Arrogance. We don't realize that in a moment, in an instant, God's judgment can come. Just because it hasn't come for 250 years, the history of our country doesn't mean it's not coming. Don't confuse God's mercy with God's tolerance for sin. America is going to collapse one day. I don't care what any political party tells you. It is going to collapse. I'm going to preach a sermon later this year on why America is not in Bible prophecy. You want to hear the short version of the sermon? Because we're not going to be there in the final 7 years. We're not going to exist. That doesn't mean we just give up. We ought to push back. We ought to pray for revival. But America is going to collapse. I don't know how the collapse is going to come. It may come from an external invasion from Russia or China. It may be a terrorist attack. It could be a rot from the inside. It could be a pandemic. It could be a financial catastrophe. It could be just a complete breakdown of our government. But it is coming. Like Ruth Graham, the wife of the late evangelist Billy Graham, said, if God doesn't judge America, he's going to have to apologize to Sodom and Gomorrah. What applies to nations apply to our lives as well. Don't confuse God's mercy in your life with God's tolerance for sin. Don't think because you haven't experienced severe consequences yet, you won't experience them at all. If you're living in rebellion against God right now, if you've not asked for his forgiveness, there's only one reason you haven't experienced those consequences. God's giving you another chance, perhaps the last chance, to receive his forgiveness. God said through Ezekiel in Ezekiel 33:11, as I live, says the Lord, I take no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but I desire that the wicked turn from his wickedness and live. Turn from your wickedness, for why will you die? It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what sins you've committed. No sin is beyond the forgiveness of God. And that's what the love and forgiveness of Jesus Christ are all about. It brings me tremendous joy to realize that right at this moment, a man or a woman I've never met before is placing their trust in Jesus Christ for the very first time. Congratulations. Today, you have become a member of God's forever family. In the time remaining, I'd like to thank all of those of you who have given generously to support the ministry of Pathway to Victory. In many respects, you have made it possible for these spiritual moments to occur. I'm thinking of a recent note I received from Cindy in Alabama, who wrote, Pastor Jeffress, I was saved as a young girl, but strayed for years. I renewed my faith 4 years ago. I read your books and watch your TV program every single day. Your messages help me so much, and I want my friends and family to have the same peace and assurance that only comes from faith in Christ. Thank you for helping me understand how to share my faith with others. Cindy, your words really encourage me. This is what Pathway to Victory is all about. Men and women who are truly walking with God are ambassadors for Christ. And so, when you give generously to Pathway to Victory, you can be sure that your gift has a positive ripple effect, reaching families far beyond your own hometown. And so, if it's been a while since you've given to Pathway to Victory, or maybe your pattern of giving has been thrown off during the summer months, please take this occasion to reach out. Your gifts truly make a difference. Plus, I'm prepared to send you a thank you gift to your home. It's a copy of my brand new book on the life of Abraham called Walking by Faith. Now here's David with all the details.
Thanks, Dr. Jeffress. You're invited to request a copy of the brand new book from Dr. Jeffress called Walking by Faith when you give a generous gift to Pathway to Victory. Here's our toll-free phone number, 866-999-2965, or visit online at ptv.org. And when you give an especially generous gift of $75 or more, we'll also include the complete Walking by Faith teaching series on audio and video discs. Plus, we'll send along the companion study guide. But time is running out to take advantage of this offer, so get in touch right away. Call 866-999-2965 or go to ptv.org. You could also send your request by mail. Here's the address. P.O. Box 223, 609, Dallas, Texas, 75222. One more time, that's P.O. Box 223, 609, Dallas, Texas, 75222. I'm David J. Mullins. Next time, we'll look at one of the most defining moments in Abraham's life, when God commanded him to sacrifice his only son. Join us for the message, Our Greatest Test. That's coming up Wednesday on Pathway to Victory. Pathway to Victory with Dr. Robert Jeffress comes from the pulpit of the First Baptist Church of Dallas, Texas.
Don't forget, when you get in touch with this program, please let them know that you listen to their broadcast on American Family Radio. Thanks.
With a 1-minute look at culture from a Christian worldview, I'm John Stonestreet with The Point. Recently, NBC News shared an article entitled, quote, Pope says church is open to everyone, including gay people, but has rules. Asked if it was consistent for him to say that Christianity was open when some, including gay people, were apparently excluded, the Pope replied, quote, the church is open to everyone, but there are laws that regulate life inside the church. Well, to anyone vaguely familiar with the Roman Catholic Church or Christian teaching throughout history, the only newsworthy item here is that reporters found it all newsworthy. Now, the rest of us may not have been sure that the Pope would have been as forthright as he actually was. But what he said was not an innovation. St. Paul was clear when he described Christians and their sin. Quote, and such were some of you, but you were washed, you were sanctified, you were justified in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, and by the Spirit of our God. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet.
Maybe you've heard about Medi-Share and you know what it is. It's the affordable alternative to health insurance, but you've wondered, can I really save a significant amount of money on my monthly healthcare bills? And the answer is an emphatic yes, you can. You can save a lot of money, whether it's just for you or for an entire family. Medi-Share has an option for you. In fact, the typical family saves $500 a month switching to Medi-Share. And it really is the gold standard when it comes to healthcare sharing. You get free telehealth services, you get a huge network of doctors, you get great customer support, and you get the sense of security that comes from being a part of 400,000 people who share not just each other's medical bills, but purpose too. Medi-Share is a community of Christians who pull together and pray for each other, which is very refreshing right now. If you want more info, it's so simple. You can get a price within 2 minutes. Call 833-44-BIBLE. That's 833-44-BIBLE. 833-44-BIBLE.
Faith, family, freedom.
AFR Talk.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm James Dobson, and you're listening to Family Talk, a listener-supported ministry. In fact, thank you so much for being part of that support for James Dobson Family Institute. Well, welcome back to Family Talk, the broadcast division of the Dr. James Dobson Family Institute. I'm Roger Marsh. You know, at times, the world can be a very confusing and chaotic place. Even from long ago, many followers of Jesus have faced very challenging problems and situations. Look, the enemy is always at the door. And when our thoughts wander, you take your eyes off of Jesus, well, then Satan, who is very real, is right there, waiting to distract you and tear you down. In John chapter 14, verse 6, Jesus once told the Apostle Thomas, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Those powerful words are a very strong reminder of how to seek the truth and live out our faith each and every day. Now, returning to our program today here on Family Talk is Dr. Jeff Myers. He's a ministry friend of ours, a voice of reason and biblical truth, who always provides wisdom and truth based upon his own conviction and years of study. Dr. Myers will be sharing with our co-host, Dr. Tim Clinton, a few stories about some very courageous Christians that are cataloged in his new book called Truth Changes Everything: How People of Faith Can Transform the World in Times of Crisis. Dr. Jeff Myers is president of Summit Ministries, a nonprofit organization equipping young leaders with leadership skills and a biblical worldview. Let's join them right now, right here on Family Talk.
Jeff, at the core of what you do, it's about anchoring them in their worldview, a biblical worldview, right? That's the heart of all this.
That is the heart of it. So when we say a biblical worldview, we don't mean just a Bible verse here or there. We mean the whole flow of history from God's perspective. This is the good news. History's going someplace, and it's going there on purpose. Our lives are not governed by fate. We are not victims. God has placed us here on this planet at this particular time to bring about his greater glory, to bring blessing and flourishing to the nations. And when young adults get a hold of that message and they know the truth and they learn how to discern the counterfeit worldviews that would set them aside from the truth, such as the worldviews they might pick up on their college or university campus, incredible things happen in their lives.
Well, it sets a fire in them. Jeff, let's jump into this whole conversation around truth for a moment. We live in a day and age where evil is called good and good's called evil. People are all over the map. Hey, I don't want to step in your space. Your truth is your truth. My truth is my truth. But Jeff, get us back to the core for a moment as we look at and try to understand truth anchored in our biblical worldview.
Well, 91% of people today say the best way to find yourself is to look within yourself. And the fact is, that's the worst way to find yourself. That's sort of like being out in the wilderness thinking you can navigate your way out by having the red needle of the compass point toward you at all times. Right? You're not more found. You are more lost if you do that. So people say, well, I'm going to turn inside myself, or, well, I'm going to look at social media. But what happens with this rising generation, Tim, is the more they do those kinds of things, the more they turn away from what we call a play-based childhood to a screen-based childhood, the more insecure they become, even to the point where levels of self-hate are rising faster than at any point than the United States government has found in all of its surveys of young adults going back even more than 50 years.
Jeff, when you minister to, when you try to speak into the lives of today's generations, I wanted to ask you, is there a hunger for truth?
Tim, I don't know if there's a hunger for truth in the rising generation as much as there is a hunger for purpose. What does my life mean? And the recent studies of young adults have found that their answers to questions like, does my life even have purpose? Sometimes I don't even know why I'm here. Sometimes I don't think I can do anything right. They have begun to depreciate themselves and begin to think that their lives have no meaning, high levels of anxiety, low levels of purpose. When I say to a young person, would you like to hear about how you personally can understand your purpose in life and as a result be the sort of person who serves others and makes a difference in the world? Would that be of interest to you? And the vast majority of young people say, absolutely, that's of interest. I'm not sure if I'm with you on all the facts and figures and so forth about a biblical worldview, but I'm definitely interested in that. Let's keep the conversation going.
Jeff, I saw a CDC report come out not long ago this year, and it talked about our